RotoGrinders. Welcome to DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blenderhead, Blender HD. You're going to follow me there on Twitter. And this is the show where we review slates. We talked about DFS strategy. I answer your questions. Whatever it is that you want. I see you guys in the YouTube chat. Give me those thummy thumbs early here in the morning. Missed you yesterday. Called in sick. I took a sick day yesterday. That's perfectly fine. So anytime you don't see it, oh, what happened? Where is it on YouTube? But I'm not dead, right? What happened to him? Right? That should be a good sign that I'm on often. I'm on such a consistent schedule that when, called in sick for one show, everything goes into disarray or whatever. But thanks for the well wishes. Just, I have digestive issues. So sometimes I wake up in the morning and I feel sick and I'd rather go back to bed. So that's what happened yesterday. So give me some extra thumbs for that. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Yesterday, Bjorn Hagen says in the chat, got third in the main large field GPP last night thanks to your help. Oh, you did? Let's take a look-see. But I got some stuff up here. Let's go. Yesterday, because we could look that up. Right? We could tell if you're lying, Bjorn. Got third in the main large field GPP. Well, I don't know. Is it DK? Or is it Fanduel? Are you Rubric? I don't know. Not sure. He could be talking about Fanduel. Is this your lineup? Okay, he's not going to answer me. I have no idea. Third. Fred VanVleet, Jordan Poole, Furkan Kirkmoyers, Young, Allen, Beverly, Barton, Jokic. There you go. That's a winning lineup. Even with Korkmaz, not the greatest of scores. So like Thad Young, he got nice 7x for that. What was first? First was 361.75. Yeah, that's a lineup that I would have never made. It just Ball, Allen, Miles Bridges, Miles Turner, probably. Yeah, no, I know I wouldn't have gotten here. But Rubric, well, if that's you, Bjorn Hagen in the chat, well, congratulations on what, 20 grand or so on 35 entries. So that's what, 350. That's $525 entered, and to 20,000, depending on what else you did. Max Coach 1 says some dude on FanDuel took all 6 places with the same lineup. It happens. People are willing to do that. It's you shouldn't be duplicating your own lineup. You're crushing all the other lineups EV by doing that. Unless you know that you have the nuts, right? If you're from the future, if you're a Time Lord and you know what the winning lineup is, what for sure, then you just enter it 150 times, of course. Of course you do that. But yesterday yesterday projection was I want to highlight something when people are talking about, like we had 2 days ago, we had Andre Drummond, right? 4,400, right? And that's when we talked about him with Embiid out, with Harris out also. We didn't know that until later in the night. Like, I would play like all of my lineups with Andre Drummond. Yet yesterday, we had an instance with Jakob Poeltl out and Drew Eubanks starting at 3,000. And I said, like, you don't have to play Drew Eubanks. It's like, well, it's a 3K center. Like, why can I play basically lock button Drummond, but Drew Eubanks is like, he may be overowned? Or like Malik Beasley, like basically these 3 guys, Zvi Mikhailiuk, Drew Eubanks, and Malik Beasley. And people are acting like, well, I'm going to obviously play all 3 in my lineup and then get different elsewhere. And I'm like, oh, I hate that strategy. Said, if anything, I'd fade at least 1 in most of my lineups, if not 2, if not all 3. They go, well, how come Drummond the other day was fine? It all comes down to how many points are you sacrificing by not playing them, okay? It always comes down to that. When we saw Drummond the other day, right? We could always look into lineup HQ. This is today's slate, especially when we go by salary adjusted plus minus, which is this RGB column. The higher these numbers are, the higher the number is, the more likely you're going to be sacrificing a lot in order to not play them. Okay? Yesterday's slate, these three guys in our projections had about a +4. Svi didn't even have a plus. Svi was like 1.5. Right? We had him projected a little bit lower than a couple of other places in the industry. But Eubanks was like salary adjusted plus minus of +4.5. Beasley was like +4. Valanciunas ended up being like +4 after Ingram got ruled out. Like, where can you find those 4 points? You could, in a different construction, you're not going to sacrifice as much. Drummond the other day, 14. +14. So if you don't play him in the lineup, where are you finding those 14 points from? Can you make a construction that comes close? No. You can make about two of those points, but your lineups without Drummond were 12 points lower than Drummond lineups. The top one, which means if you're playing more lineups underneath that, then you're going to be giving up more and more projection. So we see on like today's slate, I'm using this as an example because people ask, like, oh, well, when do I slam? Like, we looked across the thing, like Zvi was not, like, no one slammed like Zvi. People more, JK 123 went 91%. FJ Bourne went 78%, but it wasn't like across the board. You could make lineups with them. You could make lineups without them. Beasley, the same thing. We have E. Hafner and the whistles go woo. Barely have him. But, FJ Bourne has plenty. Pretty sure most of these lineups don't have like all 3 of them in there. It depends on which lineup is which. Well, it looks like Brick 75 played more Eubanks lineups. E. Hafner played more Mikhailik lineups. It didn't play any Beasley. It's like, okay, that's fine. Obviously, swapping to Brunson when Porzingis was ruled out. That was a plus at 12%. And you can see here, Osman was still owned at 12% because people didn't see that the starting lineup with Dean Wayne was started. And, it's not like Osman wasn't going to get minutes. It's just that he wasn't that great play anymore without him being in the starting lineup for the Cavs. The thing is, like, who should you play and who should you not? It's all a lineup based. It's all lineup based. So you don't look at this and you go, oh, they like Eubanks more than anything. No, it's just those are the lineups that they built. More Eubanks lineups than other lineups, probably due to being under on other centers. So it always comes down to how many points are you sacrificing by not playing them. That's the determination. So if we look on today's slate, this is the algorithmically generated projections or whatever. So don't necessarily go by this, but it's close enough. And obviously stuff could change. I always have to say this because trust me, and I would not say it, and then I would get 3 DMs saying, why you said to play so and so, and they did bad. I said, why the hell did you play that guy when this news came out? So, well, because you said so in the pregame show. Like, yeah, we're looking at stuff like 8 hours in advance. Okay, so Cade Cunningham, for instance, who shot horribly the other day. Like, is Josh Giddey a must play? No, none of these. Cade isn't even a must play. It's going to be hard to build lineups that project well without him, but let's see if we can. Okay, so I'm just going to build the top. I'm just going to build the top 20. Just whatever. Just press it. And I got to set exposures. Let me just do 3 zeros. Build 20. So it'll give me the top 20 lineups based on, whatever. So this should be like the optimal whatever. As of right now, as of 351, these are the algorithmically generated projections. So here we see 270.95 is a top lineup with Cade Cunningham, right? It also has 100% Giddey, according to this. So I'm going to take Cade Cunningham out. So remember, 270.95. The best lineup without him is 265.95. So about 5 points that you're sacrificing by not playing him. Okay, it's kind of weird. You're sacrificing 5 points. That it's kind of weird that number is very, very much equal to this number. It's not a coincidence. I'm saying this sarcastically. Okay? So let's say we were to take out Josh Giddey instead and play 20 lineups and just whatever. What's the top? 268.58. So in comparison to the top lineup, 270.95, one without Giddey is about a little over 2 points projection you're giving up by not playing. Oh, well, it looks, oh my God, it says 2.3 here. Right? You know, it's almost as if that's the number. That's how many points you're giving up by not playing. But once you have so many more options in these ranges, like, oh, if I don't play Jeremy Grant, I give up 0.343 points in projection. Yeah, but there's plenty of other people here they can put together lineups with. So, like, let's say I'm going to leave everyone in. I'm just going to leave everyone in. Okay, 270.95 was the top optimal lineup. Well, let's say I'm not going to play Chris Paul. Like, who's in that top line? Let's take a look. Right, Embiid and Adebayo. So what are these numbers? Embiid, okay, 0.8. Adebayo, 1.5. Who else we got in that lineup? Rudy Gobert apparently is out. I don't know. Do we have a... Probably that'll end up being Shabbat. Who's the backup there? I don't remember. We got Kevin Porter Jr. in this lineup, Jeremy Grant, Sadiq Bey. These guys project at all. Grant is 0.4. Like, let's say we just don't play Grant. It's like, okay. Well, what if it turns out Grant is going to be 40% owned? You run it. The top lineup without Grant is, I mean, the line basically with Rudy Gobert. Is he out? We have an O there. So if you wouldn't play, if you don't play Jeremy Grant, you could still make lineups that project pretty much the same. How about Sadiq Bey? Well, I want to get rid of Sadiq Bey also. Build 20 lineups. 269.11. So now we're giving up about 1.5 points. But you saw that Cade Cunningham, well, now you're giving up 5 points. Well, in large field, giving up 5 points is fine, as long as you get the requisite ownership to go along with it. Just like 15 points. Even if you faded Drummond the other day, 15 is fine. You have to get the requisite ownership to go with it. You probably don't. You probably still don't. That's a drastic drop. So that's how you should be thinking about these things. Not in terms of who's going to do well, who knows. All you have to do is just look at the number and you go, okay. I'm probably going to have a lot of Cade Cunningham in my lineups based on these projections. Unless I could find a way, once ownership comes out, to get enough ownership discount to make up for those 5 points in my other lineups. That's it. So very similar to yesterday with Drew Eubanks and Malik Beasley and Svi Mikhailian. It's an 11-game slate, people, yesterday. I played 20 lineups in GPP. I didn't play Svi on one of them. I played Beasley in a lot. So I did that. Like, you could have done one of those things. I played Eubanks in about half of them. I played Thad Young in the other, and others, that didn't have Eubanks in it. But I also was playing a lot of off. I was playing a lot of off. I had Reggie Jackson in a couple of lineups. He did great. I had Al Horford. I had constructions that were meant for large field GPPs, and I got the ownership to go along with it. And the projections weren't that bad. You have so many more choices in an 11-game slate that it makes no sense to me to jam in chalk that, like, dude, you could fade anyone and only give up like 4 points and then play whoever you want at that point. So, like, just why are you jamming in chalk at that level? So when people talk about good chalk and bad chalk, the misnomer is that they're talking about who's going to do well, who's not going to do well. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about who gives you more of who gives you more of a projection sacrifice than others. That would be the difference. Going through the YouTube chat. Michael Dompier, in your experience that tournament players overvalue starting lineups? Yes. When people thought McLaughlin was starting, his ownership looked way too high for what he is. People, yes. I'm not talking about tournament players. I'm talking about average DFS players. People overvalue what you have to figure. I mean, I've explained this probably 400 times, and probably RotoGrinders analysts have explained it 7 million other times. Being in the starting lineup doesn't mean anything. Minutes mean something, okay? Drew Eubanks played the first 3 minutes and then came out, okay? I mean, he ended up playing like 20 minutes or so in like 3-minute shifts. When you're in the starting lineup, your usage goes down because you're now playing. If it's a player that's not normally, if Jordan McLaughlin yesterday, for instance, let's say he did start. Okay, now you're competing for usage and to touch the ball with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. Jordan McLaughlin typically doesn't have to do that because he's on the second unit. He has to compete with touches with Malik Beasley and Naz Reid, right? And Vanderbilt. So while he will play less minutes, not as a starter, he will have better fantasy points per minute. As a starter, may get extra minutes, but have less fantasy points per minute. So there's a trade-off there. So would you rather have someone starting playing 28 minutes or not starting playing 24 minutes? Well, that's the question. They could be equal. So whether or not someone is in the starting lineup or not, in and of themselves doesn't change anything unless you raise their minutes and lower their usage. That's already reflected in the projections already. Typically, if someone's in the starting lineup, their minutes are more secure. That's a better way of putting it. But in and of themselves doesn't mean anything. There are tons of times starting lineups come out and no one does anything. Oh, Tony Snell is like that. I always use Tony Snell as an example. Like he doesn't do anything. Oh, he's starting. I gotta play him now. He's 3,100. Yeah, he sits in the corner and does nothing. There's typically the one guy that starts on every team that's like that. We don't rush to play them. We're just used to seeing them in the starting lineup, right? So if wherever Tony Snell is, he's still in the Bucks. I have no idea. I have no idea what Tony Snell is. But if the team that normally starts Tony Snell said, Tony Snell isn't starting today, this other guy is going in. This other $3,100 player. Are you rushing to play him? Oh my God, he's going to come in and he's going to play. He normally plays 14 minutes and now he's going to play 32 minutes. Yeah, doing nothing also. I mean, the same thing. Starting lineups can give a glimpse of what the rotation is more likely to be. Right? Like yesterday, if the Spurs lineup came out and Eubanks wasn't starting and it was Thad Young, that would give a much bigger indication that Thad Young was going to play more minutes than Eubanks. They could have. I mean, look at the Raptors. They start at Shua and then Birch ends up playing in the second half. So that doesn't even mean anything in and of itself. Anything could happen. But don't automatically go. This all starting. Pat Beverly was in the starting lineup. Yeah, he got there. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. Pat Beverly in the first unit, the second unit, maybe, yeah, his minutes go up. But he's competing for usage with other. I mean, obviously, Pat Beverly could do other things, and he had plenty of defensive stats yesterday. But in and of themselves, the starting lineup is not like, oh, I got it. It's not like baseball. Oh, the 2K hitter's batting second. Like it doesn't work that way. Right, Michael Dompier says, I understand cash lineups wanting starting plays. Yeah, the minutes tend to be, I'm using the word tend, to be more secure. That's it. Most likely, if they're in the starting unit, they're probably going to be in the closing unit. They're going to play more minutes and probably in cash games and double ups, you're more likely to prioritize minutes than usage. Then you play someone that could only play 16 minutes off the bench, but have end up with 25 points in those 16 minutes. The Bobby Portis types, Chris Boucher types. Because their minutes could be very volatile. Okay, anything else? Right, Jacob Holloway says, more importantly, the field doesn't correctly weigh the possibility that someone starts and only plays 18 minutes. They assume 36, right. It depends on the team's rotations. That's why we have a team that does that here. You know how many times we get in the RG Discord and the NBA channel? Oh my God, so-and-so is starting. It's like we already have him projected start. Does that make any difference? No, it doesn't. He gets 3 extra minutes. His median fantasy points go up 1.8. I mean, it's already in there. It's already reflected. So some new starting. Oh, this guy starts instead. It's already in there. And if it's not, it's going to be in there in 10 minutes, right? We didn't predict this guy's going to be in. But that doesn't mean anything. The minutes mean something. Like we take a look yesterday. It's like, oh, Brunson started for. Okay, well that means something for his minutes. Now he went nuts yesterday. But he's a good fantasy point per minute player anyway. But Brunson had been. Porzingis has been out for 3 or 4 games, so it's not like it's new that, oh my God, Brunson is starting. Just that if Porzingis was in, Brunson probably doesn't start. Miles Turner just every other day gets there. Every other day, right? He goes for almost 60, and then you play him the next day, and he has foul trouble, and he has his 4 points. Norman Powell. I had a bunch of these guys. I had DeAndre Hunter, 1%. Some of the ownership of these plays, like you take a look at Svi, like especially Svi and Malik Beasley, for instance. Let's look at shooting guard, small forward. Okay? We're talking about Svi and Beasley. They're in the 4K level range, right? 3,700 and 4,100. So just like cheap shooting guard, small forwards. Trent was also, he's 5,100 yesterday in DraftKings. He was popular in that range. Shooting guard, small forwards in that range. You know how many other shooting guard, small forwards? Korkmaz was there. Niang, people played. We just go down. You got Brunson at 12%. He was 5,100. So, take a look at up here. 20 to 40% on these 3 guys. You're going to play Nick Batum at small forward. He had 34. You could have played. I played a bunch of Michael Porter. He was 9%. You could play Devontae Graham. No, he was 6,000. So let's go through. Just cheapy. Norman Powell. There, I played a bunch of Norman Powell. He was 5.6% owned, put up 40 points. Garland was a little bit higher than that range, even though I did play Garland. Let's see. There are a whole bunch of these people. Even Davion Mitchell, right? 26.5. Desmond Bain, 26. 3%, 2% owned. Derek White, 6,300. That's out of the range. Will Barton. I'm just trying to highlight in the shooting guard, small forward, like the cheap end. Like I saw DeAndre Hunter, right? He was 1% owned. I had him in my pool. Here's 1% owned. Reggie Jackson went off. Alex Caruso was 1% owned. He got 22. He got the same points. Damian Lee was 1% owned, 23 points. Not much different than Zvi or Beasley. But a 30x ownership difference? Yes, these guys projected better. But not by how many points? 3 or 4 points? That's it. On an 11-game slate in a large field GPP, why aren't you taking advantage of that? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that you fade all of them. I'm just saying that I had lineups that had Beasley and one, like Beasley's on the Timberwolves. Then I had Reggie Jackson on the other side. I had Reggie Jackson's ownership somewhere around 4 or 5%. He came in at 1. If I had him at 1, if I had him at 1%, I may have gotten him in half of my lineups and not just like 4 out of 20 or 3 out of 20. So I over projected some ownerships on some players. I got the chalk guys kind of right. I got Svi. Out of my 20 GPP lineups, I had 0 Svi. What about your Thad Young? I had a bunch of Curry. I had a bunch of Curry plus Holmes. That didn't work out. Holmes gets ejected in the third quarter. Well, thanks a lot. But especially on the larger slates, like you don't have to play these guys. Take a look at your projections, if not ours. How many points am I sacrificing by not playing them? Can I make lineups that are that now? If you're playing a 150-man contest, 100-man playing a small field, I mean, maybe you don't give up 5 points on Cunningham. You just say, I'll find a way to do something else. Okay, we'll see what you can do. But maybe you don't mind some of the lineups that completely fade him. Is he a must play? No. Not at a +5 salary adjusted plus minus. It's not a must play. Probably in smaller, very small field stuff, you might as well just play. Why give up those 5 points in projection? In that small of a field. The large field, he may be overowned. I mean, I don't know what his ownership is going to be. I'll reload this. I have to expect on a 5-game slate, his ownership is maybe 50%. Oh, we got. I mean, this is still 40, but we haven't projected for 40. I think it'll be higher than that. Because really, other than Cade Cunningham, there's no one on this slate that's like, do you have to play? You got to play Giddey. You got to play Sadiq Bey. No. I mean, yeah, they project a half a point, 1 point, 2 points, a little bit better than other players. But like realistically, what's the difference between? It's like we got let's see. Like I got Kevin Porter here, 6,400. Like what's the difference between him and Jeremy Grant? I know different positions. Oh, but Jeremy Grant is 0.43 and Kevin Porter's minus 0.6. That's a 1 point difference. Jeremy Grant 23% owned, Porter 18% owned. Like as that gap gets wider, then you might as well just play Kevin Porter. The difference isn't that dramatic. 1 point. You could obviously sacrifice 1 point in almost any contest. So if you're getting to that point where like we're already in like the top salary adjusted plus minus players, and you could make plenty of good lineups without them, then it means you make lineups without them. Not all of them. Doesn't mean I'm just going to not play any of these. No. It means you could play a lineup with Cunningham. You could play a lineup not Cunningham. You could play a lineup with Giddey. You could play a lineup without Giddey. We could play a lineup with Bam. You could play a lineup without Bam. You could play a lineup with Bam and Giddey, but no Cade Cunningham. You could play a lineup with Cade Cunningham and Bam and no Giddey. I mean, like all of those combinations are fine. So it's not about who you play. It's about what's the lineup. It's unlikely, based on these projections right here, that you're fading like all the guys up here, right? You're just Xing out Cade Cunningham, Giddey, Bey, Adebayo, Embiid, Grant. I'm just saying, nope, not playing any of them. Well, you can be look how many points you can be sacrificing 7, 8 points just for doing that. Are you getting the requisite ownership? Probably not. Can you? In large field, I guess you can. You find some lineups that are 10 points, 15 points optimal that are low owned and just, pray, hope and pray. Pray to the gods. High variance lineup. I guess you can. In the smaller fields, probably not. So that's how you should be thinking in these terms. So much conversation yesterday on Drew Eubanks. Well, what's his upside? I don't care about his individual upside. I care about the upside of the lineups that I'm playing. If a 3K player gets 23 points and that unlocks, 5 players in my lineup getting 50 plus, 60 plus each, then that's fine. Look, the winning lineups. I mean, look, Furkan Korkmaz is in the third place lineup. Look at the lucky Svi was in the winning lineup yesterday, and he only scored 22 points. Okay. Drew Eubanks scored more than that. The only reason why Drew Eubanks is not in this lineup is because Jared Allen and Miles Turner had huge games at the center position. The second place lineup had Thad Young in, right? Third place lineup, like we saw before, had Korkmaz. I mean, like that, you could still win with a cheap player going 7x, right? 20 plus, depending obviously on the rest of the scoring on the rest of the slate. Right, Drew Eubanks here in the fourth place line. Because he had Reggie Jackson, Miles Turner, Jaren Jackson, Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson. Right, he's able to jam in other points. Now, if some of these guys don't go for that many and they have 10 less, then obviously 23 points for 3,000 is not going to be good. Rick 75. Okay, there's Thad Young here. Got Thad Young in this lineup, right? 27. I mean, for 4,100, that's fine. It's not like, well, oh my God, he broke the slate. No, but he allowed you to fit other things in. Drew Eubanks, here you go. Seventh place lineup. I mean, you'll see spattered and Svi. Look, Eubanks and Svi. But then you play 7% Miles Bridges, that goes nuts. Play Wendell Carter at 8%, Reggie Jackson at 1.39%. So who gives a crap at that point? Tyrese Halliburton at 2%. He goes off for 48 points. So yeah, plays V and Eubanks. Play the two chalkiest players together in this line. Look at the own. I mean, this is a low owned lineup. But they're playing the two chalkiest players. Yeah, but it's a low owned line. Lineups, not players. Word in chat is that there's no official word on Rudy Gobert. What's going on? I mean, I didn't even hear anything. Was that announced yesterday about Rudy Gobert? Do we have a report? Like, what's the reason other than rest? I mean, I don't know. When I literally woke up and I'm like, why is there an O next to his name? Who's the backup? Did Bradley? No, Bradley went to Philadelphia, right? Pascal? Oh, Whiteside is. Oh, that's where Whiteside went. So is Whiteside going to be chalky? What's going to happen? They're playing Atlanta. They're going to have to play a center, right? Well, now on the reload, Gobert doesn't have any O next to a name. Is this a phantom out tag? He's listed out on DraftKings. That's odd. So that's the reason why we're pulling in an O. Well, we did before. We don't have him now. This is really odd. Right heel recovery, according to chat. Well, we'll see. What time is the Utah game? Oh, 7:30. We'll know about that. Let me check. I mean, it's just the oddest thing that they have listed out. Do we have let's see. We have our injury situation room for premium members. Yeah, we don't even have them listed on this. Right, because we have obviously, the Lakers guys that probably will play. Yeah, I don't know. The DraftKings, where are they getting their information? Who knows? We'll figure it out later today. There's no point in doing it now. Right? We take a look at this and go, is Ayton going to play? I mean, is Lou Dort going to play? I mean, we don't know. I mean, that's why we don't make lineups at 11 o'clock in the morning. Right? We review slates. The only reason I was showing you the stuff with like Cade Cunningham and everything today is that, like, you're going to be going in at 6:30 Eastern or whatever. You're going to make lineups. Things are going to change, right? Someone's in, someone's out. This guy starts rejecting better, right? You may have a guy, oh my God, this guy's starting and blah, 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 going to play 30 minutes. And it's like, I got to jam him in all my lineups. It's like, it depends on how they project. And sometimes we get a guy like that. Sometimes we get a guy that's like, oh my God, if you don't play Whiteside, if Gobert is out, you're going to be sacrificing 11 points in projection. Like, okay, then you're probably jamming that guy. But it could be like, oh my God, I'm going to jam that guy in. It's like, dude, if you don't play him, you play other guys and they're a +2. And it's like, there's plenty of other +1s and +2s and stuff here that like, there's no need to play him. Doesn't mean he's bad or anything, but you don't have to make lineups with him. So that's what I'm showing this early. Not who to play. Maybe Cade Cunningham's projection goes down. Cade Cunningham's projection goes down 3 or 4 points. Well, then their salary adjusted plus minus goes down 3 or 4 points. And you're sitting there going, they're about as necessary as anyone else on the slate. Like you're not really you're sacrificing a point, not playing him, but you're gaining that point by playing someone else. Right, Dampier says it's too early. There's probably a 50% chance Embiid sits. Right, we don't need, right? The Sixers are on this slate. So we don't even know what the hell's going on, right? And he doesn't even have a tag. But who knows with Embiid? He could sit in the middle of games. What looking to do? We got, who knows? Maybe LeBron sits. Who knows? I don't think Dort matters much. I don't think it's going to change much. If, Dort's out, you got to jam in whoever. Or Royce O'Neal. I don't think that matters much. Cameron Payne probably doesn't matter. But it doesn't. There's going to be something that happens at 3:00 in the afternoon today that isn't even on the report or anything. Right? Just stop it. We're not going to play. Whatever. Doesn't mean you don't look at this stuff and go, okay, I'm getting the lay of the land. The lay of the land. And talking about the lay of the land, Andy Means, his article. He's been doing our premium NBA article for a long time. It used to be called Core Plays. I think it's still called Core Plays, but it probably shouldn't be. It used to be here on Draftkings and Fanduel. Here's a description. Here's why these few guys here are the core. They're typically for cash games. And he has a tag here. You can see here. Means these core plays. He's revamped it. That it's more of the lay of the land. So it does a complete overview of the slate. Who's out? Who's questionable? What happens? Different team situations. If this guy's in, then this, and if that guy's in, then like all that type, does a whole thing. A roster construction for the slate. If people are going to play this, then they're going to not do this, and go through it, and goes through everything. Because core plays is like there's a tag for that, but there's not necessarily. You don't necessarily need a 4-paragraph explanation of what's already in the projection. It's more useful to go like, how should we be approaching this slate as a whole? And what news are we waiting for? How does that affect how you make your rosters? I mean, we've had times, look the other day, like I made my lineups with JaVale McGee in mind that Ayton was going to sit. Well, that's the type of stuff that Andy puts in his article. So he writes that, he updates it throughout the day. How to approach a slate. He's coming from more of a cash game perspective, but it's still like, what's the value? What would the value opening up be? If this doesn't happen, then what do we do? Like those types of things. So much better. So if you could get that with RotoGrinders Premium, click on the link in the description, get $10 off your first month. And you get all the projections, you get everything that I show on the show for there. ID Quan says, never trust the FanDuel or DK injury report. I don't think you can trust the tags though. Because but does it really say that Gobert is out on DraftKings? I don't know. I would have to check later. I was going to check on my phone because typically the designations are like from the official NBA injury report. Like they wouldn't just like put that in just for no reason. Well, if he's actually in and they're going to leave the out tag on him, then play a lot of him because not many people will, I guess. I guess that's the strategy there. Okay, so we reviewed some stuff. We went over some things. It'll be a short show today. We got a lot of work today. A lot of stuff going on in premium. We got showdown content, premium showdown content. We got MMA stuff. We got golf stuff. We got everything. NFL. I mean, tons of stuff. So feel free to sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Click on the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. You get all the projections. You get all that. Like, what else do you need? Like, everything you possibly need. Resources to help you play DFS better. And I'll be on later tonight. So if you click on the notification bell to know when you go live on this channel, there'll be NBA. There's NBA Grinders live for the NBA slate. Then there's Crunch Time for premium members. That's the premium show with Andy and Roth and someone else. Typically, there's a tournament guest, and then me and STL Cards will be back for the NFL pre-lock show. Who's playing tonight? I don't even remember. Oh, it's the Colts. Is it the Colts? Who's playing tonight? I forgot. I said a lineup. I said a lineup, and I'm not even sure. Not even sure, right? So I haven't looked at it. I just said a dummy lineup, and then it's just like, okay, what is the game? What's the game? Oh, Jets Colts. Oh yeah, disgusting game. Yeah, this is not. I mean, you never know. Mike White could get there, maybe, right? He threw for 400. That could happen again, right? It could happen again. Well, okay. But we'll be talking about that later on the NFL pre-lock show. So hit those thumbs up buttons on your way out the door. I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll be talking NFL. Friday's Casual Friday, so we're talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So we'll be going over NBA from this slate, maybe Showdown, maybe some NFL, maybe some NBA tomorrow night, maybe some MMA, right? I always got to show that. Like, they got to add a fighter. Let's see what Jacoby's going to be priced at. So I can add that to my spreadsheet. And we're talking about all that type of stuff and answer your DFS strategy questions, as always, on the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders.com.